Welcome back to another banger video, and today we're going to be covering a brand new topic on the channel here. So I'm starting a new series. We're going to be teaching you guys how you can make your own Discord bots with the latest version of Discord.js to a certain extent. Now, the new version of Discord.js did just come out with the brand new builders for embeds, stuff like that, where you can change things up just quite a bit. I'm not going to dive too deep into that today. This is going to be a very basic tutorial just using a pretty simpler version of Discord.js, but it is version 14, so we're going to be using a simple version of that to create ourselves a Discord bot. Let's go ahead and get straight into today's video. So today we're going to be covering setting up a Discord bot application, installing the necessary packages, creating the basic bot structure, implementing slash commands, adding moderation commands like ban and kick, and setting up a custom bot status activities, and finally deploying commands globally. So we're going to be covering all that in this video. This is going to be the first tutorial video in the series. So hopefully this helps you guys out. You can make your own Discord bots at home and hopefully even learn Node.js/Discord.js. So let's go ahead and get straight into this video. So first off, what you want to do is download Node.js. Now you're going to need this to actually, run packages or applications that use Node.js whenever developing your software, whatever. And first off, we're going to need Node.js. Now we're going to be downloading the long-term support version of Node.js, which will actually provide a long-term support for our applications. So if you get the latest version of Node.js, not the long-term support version, then you will be getting the latest version, which if you build an application or anything using that version, there is a chance at some point that version of Node.js will not be receiving any more updates. Now the long-term support version means it is going to receive updates for the longest amount of time. So it's going to be even, more updated and getting updates, patches, fixes, things like that, even further into the future than the latest versions. So keep that in mind as well. Now you can use the latest version if you'd like, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to be using Node LTS, which is what I use daily when making my bots and whatnot. So first off, we're going to download that, and the link to download this stuff will be in the description down below. So again, just save the installer just like so, open it up, and the first thing you're going to do is click on next. And for me, I'm going to remove it first and then reinstall it. So let's go ahead and remove it. And once that has been removed, I'm going to reopen it just like so. And you'll be greeted just like so. So again, you can read this if you like. You are legally required to read this. So I do, for legal reasons, recommend you read this. But obviously, I have already read this. But I'm going to be clicking on I accept and clicking next. Now, you're going to pick a location to install Node.js to. I recommend using the default install location, as it's not a huge program and you're not using a lot of space. Just install it just like so. Once you have that, you don't have to do anything here, but just click on next once again, and then here it's going to say automatically install the necessary tools. I do recommend checking this. This is very useful. It is going to take some time, so just keep that in mind as well. I'm not going to be checking this as I already have them installed because I've ran this before, but for you, please do check this. It's going to help you out in the long run. So click on next once again and install just like so. Make sure you click on yes if you get a pop-up just like this. Just click yes, and once that has finished, that'll be all you need to do here. So once it is finished, you're all good to go, and you can close out that tab here. Now I recommend getting yourself a code editor. Now you can just use Notepad or maybe even Sublime Text or something like that as well for code editing. Personally, I recommend Visual Studio Code. It's pretty much available for, I think, almost every platform, and I do recommend you use it. As for this tutorial, that's what we're going to be using. So if you do want to follow along, one for one, you are going to want to download Visual Studio Code. Now, once you do have that installed, which I already do, you'll be good to go there. And finally, you're going to need the Discord developer portal. So first things first, you're going to set up your application, as we're going to be using these credentials here in just a moment. So first off, go ahead and click on a new application in the top right corner and give your application a name. For me, I'm just going to be calling this YouTube video tutorial, and click on the checkbox here to agree. And for teams, we're not going to worry about teams right now. Just for now, to do personal, and click on create. Once that has been created, you can, again, customize your description here, whatever you'd like to do. But I'm going to go and start grabbing the things that we're going to need just for running the bot for now. So we're not going to be customizing anything, just grabbing what we need. So head on over to OAuth 2 and copy your client ID. You will need this to deploy commands into Discord's API. So you need your client ID to actually deploy commands globally and per server. So you will need this if you plan on deploying commands, which in this video we're using slash commands, so you're going to need that. I'm going to be storing this inside of a notepad. So now that I have my notepad open, I'm just going to put that there and heading back over to bot just like so. Next, we're going to grab our token. So you just click on reset token here and click on yes, do it. And I'm going to authenticate with my two-factor authentication. And once you're authenticated, you will get a token just like so. Now, do not share this token, as anyone you share this with can control your bot and log into it and do whatever they want with it. You do not want to share this. Now, for me, again, I'm showing it in the video it's not going to exist anymore once this video goes out, so not to worry about that either. So next, finally, go ahead and store your token as well somewhere, or leave the tab open, but for me, I'm just going to store it just like that. And finally, we're turning on the intents here. These are going to be important for later, and I'll be telling you about them later, so just go ahead and turn them all three on just like that. And for now, that's pretty much it. And finally, let's get our link to actually add our bot to servers. So heading over to OAuth, we're going to be checking the box bot and application.commands. We're going to need both of those for making a bot and for deploying application commands. Next, finally, we're giving it any permissions that you would need. For me, I'm just going to be doing administrator as it is the easiest one. Copy your link just like so. And in my notepad, I'm going to be storing it just like that. Now, finally, once I do have those just like so, I'm going to be closing Google out as we're not going to be needing it any further for now. Finally, let's get started on actually making our project and things like that. So finally, I'm going to make a brand new folder on my desktop right here. I'm just going to call this basic bot. Doesn't really matter what you name it, the folder itself. Well, it kind of does, as when we use npm init to actually make our project, it's going to be naming that. So name it whatever you'd like here. It doesn't really matter too much, as you can change it later. Not a big deal. Next, open up your folder here in Visual Studio Code, which you can do by right-clicking and clicking Open with VS Code, or you can click on your Windows key and just type in Visual Studio Code, or find the desktop application like this. Open it up, and this should be the first screen you see. If not, you'll see the welcome screen, which it should look just like this. And once you are here, click on Open Folder. I'm going to go to my desktop, clicking on Basic Bot, double-clicking it, and then clicking on Select Folder is going to open that folder here. Now, here, if you are using code from another location, you might want to be skeptical when clicking this, but for us, we made the folder, so I'm going to be checking the box and clicking on Yes, I trust the authors. Now, once this has been completed, you are officially inside your project, and you should have everything that you need installed to get started. So first off, we're going to be setting up our node.js project, which is pretty simple, and there is a command just for doing that. So go ahead and click on terminal at the top and make a new terminal, which just like so is going to present you with a terminal. So here, this is where we're going to be typing commands like things for installing packages or for starting our bot, stuff like that. But first off, just go ahead and start by doing npm init and -y. Doing so, just click on enter, and it should be done just like that. And this is completely normal. As long as you see this, you're fine. And you should have a package.json file, which is good. And here you have the name, version, and the main file here. Do not change this unless you rename our index file here in a moment. But we shouldn't be doing that, as for now, we're keeping it simple, basic, whatever. So leave that as index.js for now. And then here you have your scripts, keywords, author, license, and description. You can change these if you'd like, but for the sake of this, I'm not going to be doing that. And then clicking back over here on the basic bot folder, or inside here, you can click on the add file button and simply type index.js. Once you've made that file, it is going to give you a brand new JavaScript file. Now, we don't actually have Discord.js installed just yet, so we need to install those. We also need to install .env, because we're going to be using env files to actually store our environment variables. So first off, head on back over to your terminal down here and type in the command npm install discord.js and .env. So just like so, it's going to install discord.js and .env, and those should be the latest versions. So click on enter, and you should see them installed just like that. Now, once they are installed, you will see a brand new package lock.json, which simply shows what modules we have installed and gives your project something to look at for seeing where things are stored, what versions things are, stuff like that. You do not want to edit this unless you know what you're doing, so I recommend not touching this, just leave it there. You will also now see a node modules folder, which is generated automatically. Again, don't touch anything in there unless you know what you're doing, but usually you're not touching that at all. I have never found myself really looking too deep in there, so again, you're not going to be doing that for this video. All right, and once you have all that stuff done just like that, you have node modules, index.js, package lock, and our package.json, you can now make your env file. So make a brand new file just like so, and simply do .env. It should change to this icon right here, which is an environment variable file, which just basically just gives our project something to look at to see global environment variables that can be used across all of our files and throughout our entire project. So once you actually have that file there, let's go ahead and set this up so we can access it in our index.js file. So first off, you can make comments in the env file by doing hashtag and typing a comment. And just like so, it ignores anything that you put after a hashtag. Once you have your basic file just like that though, I'm going to be putting bot configuration, as that's what we're looking at here, and that's what we're making on our first few lines. So once you have your bot configuration, let's do bot_token, and we can do equals, and then put what our bot token is. So again, we should have that in our file just like so. You can just copy that and place it inside our file. Now, next, let's go ahead and do our client underscore ID. And again, we should have that also saved. And finally, let's go ahead and move down once again. And we're also be setting up a bot activity status. Now, bot activity statuses are like your Discord client or your Discord profile that says like playing or watching and then something. We're gonna be setting that up for a bot as well to have custom bot statuses. So here, I'm gonna do hashtag bot activity status. And right below it, we're gonna be doing bot underscore status is equal to, and then setting a status here. So the bot status options that are available for use are online, idle, do not disturb, and invisible, just like so. So pick one of those and place it here. Now for me, I'm just gonna be doing online, just like so. And just like that, we have our status. So this will show the online status, the green circle. Do not disturb will show the, obviously, the red circle and do not disturb. Idle will show the little moon for idle, and invisible will show as offline. So keep that in mind when setting those as well. Next, we're gonna be doing the activity type. So we can do activity type, and then below that, we're gonna do activity underscore type. And here we're gonna do playing and activity name as Discord. So just like so, we have our activity type, which is playing. And again, you should know what those are, but if you don't, it'll show it like in the profile, playing a game or whatever. And then for our game name, it's going to be Discord. So it should say playing Discord underneath our bot's profile, which you will see very soon. Now, next, once you have those done, let's go to start working on our index.js file. So first, we need to actually import our dependencies for what we want to use in this file. Now for us, for now, let's go ahead and just do require, and we're going to do require .env.config and set it up just like that. So there we go. We are requiring .env.config, and this will actually load our global environment variables from the .env. And this will load our variables from the .env package we installed. So it's using .env to load our, obviously, .env file to load our variables. Next, we're going to go ahead and add the code to automatically deploy our slash commands when the bot starts. We're going to go ahead and get that out of the way. So first, go ahead and set up a const, which makes a constant or something that stays the same throughout the entire file. We're going to do const, and we're going to open up with curly brackets and put a space. We're going to do rest and routes. And then on the outside of that, we're going to do equals requires, or require, sorry, and discord.js. So that's importing rest and routes from discord.js. Always remember to put your semicolon after that. So we're importing rest and routes, which requires from discord.js, which means rest and routes comes from discord.js. Once you have those, go ahead and go down another line, and we're going to do const deploy commands is equal to async, and we're going to make an async function here. We're going to open that up with brackets, and then we're going to be putting our deploy command logic here. So in a moment, we will get to that, but we're just going to set it up for now. So this will be const deploy commands, which basically just sets up a constant function that we can call anywhere in the file. And then once we call const deploy commands or deploy commands, it would call back to this const and run whatever this function is here. So we can go ahead and leave that for now. We'll get to that in just a moment. Next, we're going to make a Discord bot client with the necessary intents we're going to be needing. So we're going to do const and then open up another curly bracket just like so. We're going to do client gateway intent bits partials collection activity type presence update status and events just like so. And again, you want to put the commas after each one to make a list. Next, we're going to do equals again, and then require, and again, pass in discord.js, as that's where they're coming from. And again, it is part of discord.js. That's where we're going to be bringing those over from. So just like so, we have a constant. We're using client, gateway intent bits, partials, collection, activity type, present update status, and then events. So we're going to need those. It is very important. And next, we're going to be going down and start making our client instance, which actually loads the bots. We're going to do const, and then client is equal to a new client. Then we're going to do a parenthesis just like so, curly bracket, and again, press enter. open it up just like this. We're going to do intents, and we're going to do a colon, and then the square brackets. We're going to be passing in gateway intent bits dot guilds. And again, we're doing a list, so put a comma, and then gateway intents dot guild messages, and then gateway intent bits dot message content, and finally dot guild members. So here we are passing in the guilds, the guild messages, so what messages are sent in the guild, the message content, so what's in the message, and the guild members, so who all is in the guild. So this is going to be getting our users from the guild itself, so it's the messages in the guild and the content of those messages. Next, we can go ahead and do another comma and make another array for our partials. So partials and then colon, and then open up our array here. And we're going to be putting in the partials dot channel, the partials dot message, the partials dot user, and finally the partials dot guild member. So basically the same thing, but essentially here we're passing in channels, the message, the user, and the guild member. So it's almost the same thing. It's a kind of complicated to explain, but yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, just a different way. Now, next, go ahead and put another semicolon there and move on down. And let's set up the command collection. So here we're going to do client.commands. And we are going to do is a new collection, just like so. Again, another semicolon. And then we need to load all the command files from our commands directory, which we'll be making soon. So we're going to do const fs is equal to require. And then we're going to do fs, which you do not need to install, by the way. This is pre-included, so you would not need to do npm install fs or whatever. You don't need to do that. So it is included by default, and you should already have it. Now, it is best practice to actually put all your const at the top. It does help out in making things a little bit neater. For this video, we're not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be doing it as we go along. So the next const path is equal to require path. So again, this is pre-included, and you do not need to install it, so don't worry about that. And next, we're going to do const commands path is equal to path.join. And we're going to do __ directory name, or dir name, just like so, comma, and then open that up to commands. So here we're specifying that the commands path is going to be a directory named commands. And we're going to do const command files is equal to fs.reader_sync, just like so. And we're going to do commands path. So we're reading the commands path and what's in it. And we're doing .filter. And then file is going to be like so. And the file ends with, and we're going to be doing JavaScript, so .js. And there we go. So now we are only reading and looking at the commands that end with .js. So if there's a text file in there, we're not going to try to deploy text files, and we're only filtering JavaScript files. Next, let's do for const, and then, sorry, I forgot to bracket there, but const file of command files. So for all of the command files, we're going to do const file path is equal to path.join, and then commands path. And next we're going to be doing a file, just like so. So next to const command is equal to require and file path. And then here we're going to set a new item in the collection with the key as the command name and the value as the exported module. So here we're going to be doing if and then data in command and execute. Sorry, I forgot those. Execute. In command, and then open up another curly bracket just like so. Client.commands dot set. We're going to do command dot data dot name, and then comma command. So here we are setting up the command to actually deploy, and we're setting the command name to the command, obviously. So now we can go ahead and get our close bracket here, and we're going to do a else statement. And so basically here in this function, we're checking to see if the command has the data and execute property. And as long as it does, we are going to be good there and setting the command properly. Now, otherwise, we're going to do console.log, and we'll just do a simple, let's do a backtick here so we can do variables. We're going to do the command, and then we can do a variable just like so. We'll do file path is missing a required data or execute property. So basically, if we do not see the data or execute property in the command here, we're just going to log that doesn't exist. And the else is going to be important because if we don't have the else, there is a chance it would crash because, obviously we're not handling if it doesn't contain data or execute. So if the file was, for example, if I just made a new folder and called it commands, which you need to do anyway, and make a command just called it blank.js. And if I just tried to deploy this, it would try deploying it, obviously if we didn't have the filter here, it would try deploying the command anyway, and we wouldn't be checking if we actually have data and execute. Otherwise, obviously console log. So this is going to be filtering anything that we don't want or anything that doesn't contain the right properties. So we're not just crashing the bot or failing to start because we didn't handle that properly. So it is best practice to go ahead and do that and whatnot. So next, let's go ahead and get the code for deploying commands and setting the bot's status. So we're going to do client.once, and then we're going to do events. So we're checking for an event, client ready, if the bot is ready. We're going to do a async function, and we're going to open this up just like so with a arrow, and go ahead and put a curly bracket just like this. We're going to do console.log and then put a log. So we're going to do ready. We can do logged in as, and we can do another one of those variables, client.user.tag, which will just simply show the bot's name in the console once it's logged in and ready. So then we can do deploying the commands. So this is going to be deploying commands, which we can do await deploy commands, which means we're going to wait for deploy commands to finish running, and then console.log. And we're going to say commands deployed globally, which means every guild that the bot is in will have access to commands, not just a specific guild. Now you can do that so it's specific if you just want commands to be on your specific guild, but for this example, we're going to be doing all servers. So next we're going to be setting the bot's status. So we're going to do const status type is equal to process.env, which is our env file. And then here you should see all of your stuff, which we're going to be doing bot status. And then otherwise, if it doesn't exist, just default to online. So it's a good idea to have just in case you forgot to fill it in or whatnot. It will default to online if it cannot find the bot status. Then we're going to do const activity type is going to be equal to process.env. And again, activity underscore type, as that's what we named it in our env file. So it does need to match what you named your env file if you did name it anything different. And then here, just put playing in all caps for otherwise if it doesn't exist, default to playing. Then we can do const and we can do activity name, which is the thing we set to Discord for what we're playing. So process.env activity underscore name, and then otherwise just default back to Discord. Next thing on down, we're going to map the activity type string to a enum. So the activity types do require enums instead of just strings, but we're kind of doing it a little reverse here. You could just start out with enums and it would be fine, but for the sake of having it customizable and having it automatic, you can just do it this way. So we can do const and then with activity type map, and then equal to, and then a curly bracket, of course. We're going to do playing in all caps, colon, and activity type dot playing. And we can go ahead and go down the next line here, do watching, and open up another colon, activity type dot watching. I'm going to be doing this for all of them, so quickly get that done. And then once you have those typed out, we have playing, watching, listening, streaming, and competing. So we can do all of those there. And again, you wanted to do your bracket just like so, or your semicolon, sorry, and then going ahead on down, and we're going to go ahead and map the status string to the present update status enum. So again, we're doing it for the other part. So we're going to do a status map, just like so, and then again, equal that up to another array, and we'll be doing online. In all lowercase, colon, and then presence update status dot online and comma. So again, making another list here. So use commas and then idle, and again, presence update status, and then a dot idle. And then you can do D&D for do not disturb, presence update status dot do not disturb. And finally, the invisible status. So invisible is going to be presence update status dot invisible. So once you have all those, you can again go ahead and go down, just like so. Put in our semicolon, and now we'll be actually setting the bot status. So going on down now, we could do client.user.setPresence, just like so, and go ahead and do a parenthesis and then the curly bracket, and we can do status is status map. So our status map we made, and then pass in the status type, and activities will be our bracket there. Again, another curly bracket, and open this up to name, which is activity name, which is the const we made earlier, and then the type, which is activity type map. So we're grabbing our map here and then passing in our activity type we made, or our const we made, through the map to actually get the enum. So head on down to this parenthesis here. This is the closing parenthesis for after our set presence, and put the semicolon just like so. And now you should have that, and we can do console. We can get on 2 lines, console.log, and then we can log the status being set. So we can do bot status set to, and then do another variable, and we can do status type, just like so. Again, another semicolon and console.log, and then open that up and do activity set to, and we can do again another variable just like this, and do activity type, and then space, and then the variable again, activity name. So this would say, you know, watching Discord, playing Discord, whatever you put in there, that's what that'll show in the console to show you what you actually set your status to. Now we are finished with that section there. So again, you can put your semicolon there to mark the end of that function. And so pretty much the status container or the bot status has 2 components. You have the status indicator, which is online, idle, do not disturb, or invisible, and the activity, which is playing, watching, listening to, etc. And so basically here, we're just converting our environment variables into the actual enums, which we made to make things easily configurable without having to actually set enums, which is a little bit more work, but makes it a little bit easier just to look at your .env. It's just sifting through your code looking for certain pieces, which if your bot is several hundred lines or bigger, it'll be a lot easier to manage the env like so. Next, let's go ahead and start up handling interactions so people can actually interact with the bot and handle slash commands from people who run these commands. So we're going to do client.on, which specifies when the client has turned on, and the event is event.interaction create, just like so. And again, async function interaction, another one of those arrows, and then a curly bracket. So we're going to do if, and we're going to do a parenthesis and then an exclamation mark for interaction is not a chat input command, then return. And so then we're just defining that if it's not a slash command to return. And the next const command is equal to client.commands.get, and then the interaction.command name. So we're going to find out what command name it is. And then if it's not a command, then simply do console.log or console.error, sorry. And we can do no command matching, and then we can do a variable, which is interaction.command, command name was found. So if the command's not found, simply log that as an error and then return just like that. You don't really have to log it as an error, but it's useful for error handling or debugging if you need to do it. So you can comment this line out by using 2 slashes, just like so. And now it's a comment. So for me, I'm not going to be logging it. I don't really need to log that every time, but it is useful to have if you're debugging or something like that. Next, pressing tab, we can do try. And we're making a try statement here. Await command.execute. And we're going to be attempting to execute the interaction command. So whatever command was inputted in the interaction, that's what we're going to try to execute. And then here we're going to do a catch, and we're going to pass in the error. So we're going to catch any errors and do console.error and then do error. So again, we're going to just send the error straight to the log or to the console. And then we can do if interaction dot replied. So if we already replied to the interaction, or interaction was deferred. So if we deferred the interaction or the reply, then we're going to do await interaction dot follow-up and open that up again, just like so. And we're going to do content. We're going to be changing the message content to there was an error while executing this command. So if there was an error while executing, we're going to simply tell the user that there was an error while executing while processing their command. So this will show up in Discord to the user, of course. And then we're going to do, after that, we're going to do a comma. And we're going to do ephemeral, which means it's only visible to the user that executed it, and true. So it's only going to show up to the user and not send an actual message in chat, just like so. And finally, we can open up a else statement. And so here you can see we have the if interaction replied. So if it was replied to already, we're going to do interaction follow-up. But if it was deferred, instead, we're going to do await.reply. I do apologize, I got that backwards. So here, if the interaction was deferred, we're doing a follow-up. And if the interaction was replied, we're just going to reply again. So open this up here, content, and simply do a there was an error while executing this command, and an exclamation mark. And again, we're making this ephemeral. So put that comma there and do ephemeral. So once you have the ephemeral, you can do another colon and then do true to set the ephemeral status to true, which you can do false there and it would make it obviously not ephemeral. But if you don't put anything there, it does default to false as well. So we're doing true to actually specify that we do want it to be ephemeral. And then you have your 2 closing brackets there. And on the final one, you can go ahead and put your semicolon once again. And finally, we need to log into the Discord bot with our token. So we're going to do client.login. And we're going to do process.env.bot_token. So passing in our bot token. And that will log in our bot. So that is our index file pretty much completed just like that. And so yeah, we pretty much have our index file completed. All right, and once you have finished the index file, let's go and get started on making the actual commands. So I'm going to delete the blink file we made earlier, move that to recycling bin, and then here in commands, we can go ahead and make a new file. And for the first command, let's go ahead and make a ping command to keep it simple. So we're going to do ping.js. And here in the first command, it's going to be very, very simple. So we're going to go ahead and do const, and then open up another curly bracket, and we're going to do /command builder to import the /command builder. We're going to do equals and then require discord.js, as again, it is from discord.js. So bring in discord.js and then put our semicolon just like so. Then we're going to do module.exports to export the code here, or basically allow everything to read it. And then we're going to do our curly bracket once again and data, and we're going to pass in our data. So we're going to do a new /command builder with parentheses just like this to create the /command builder. We're going to do set name, and we're going to do ping. So just like so, we have ping, and then .set description, and we can do replies with pong and latency information. So here we're making a ping command that will reply with pong and then send our bot's latency information. So then we can go back and do async and execute and pass in the interaction and open up another curly bracket just like this and do const sent is equal to await interaction dot reply And again, curly brackets just like this, content. And we can put text pinging. And then open this up with a fetch reply is true. So just like that, we are doing fetch reply, and we're replying with the content of pinging. So obviously we're waiting for our content to update while we're getting the ping. Then we can do const ping time is equal to sent dot created timestamp minus interaction dot created timestamp. So we're creating the time from when the interaction was created and whenever the sent time was. So whenever the command was sent, we're getting the time for that, and we're getting the interaction sent time. So whenever the interaction was created, and we're creating that to turn into our ping. We're doing an await interaction dot reply, or interaction dot edit reply, edit reply, and then we're going to be doing pong, and then we can do the ping pong emoji, and we can do a new line. So that's our first line, and then we can do \n for a new line, and then we can do bot latency, and we can do the variable for ping time, which we created by doing our math over there, ms, and then again \n for another new line, API latency, and then here we can do a colon variable, and here we can do math.round. So we're rounding our math here on the number we're going to make, which is going to be inside parentheses, and we're going to do interaction dot client dot ws dot ping. So this is the ping from our client to Discord. We can do ms just like so. That's going to round it up to the nearest whole number. We can just do a comma here and putting our semicolon. So just like that, we have the ping command. And once you have all that done, we can go ahead and start the bot by simply using our terminal down here. Now, one more thing I did forget to mention again, sorry. Click on package here, and underneath scripts, we can go down a line, and we can just do start, just like this, to define a start script. So we can do start, and then colon, and then do some more quotations. And we can do node index.js, and so when we run start, it will perform the start script there. So you have npm test and you have npm start. So if I do npm start here, you will see it is going to run our index.js file. And as you can see, we are missing intents. So we did get an error here for throw new Discord.js type error and error codes.client missing intents. So if we actually go back on over to our index.js, so it seems here we made a few errors, and most of them, well, actually almost all of them except for one being typos. So again, make sure you do double check and make sure you do have all these right. So if you get any errors after typing this stuff out, make sure you do double check that you did spell everything correctly. So there was a few typos that I made here in the code, and I'm fixing them now. So we also need to implement the deploy commands logic that we kind of forgot to do here. So I do apologize about that, but we're going to be adding that in just a moment. Let me just go ahead and fix these typos and we'll get straight to it. So finally, let's add the logic for our deploy commands. It is a bit lengthy, but let's go ahead and add that really quickly. So we're going to do try and open up a curly bracket just like this, and do const commands is equal to a collection or an array. So just like this with the brackets, we're going to do const command files just like so is equal to fs dot reader sync. And we're going to do path dot join. We're going to do the underscore directory name, comma, and then we're going to do the commands again. So we did write this line earlier, basically the same thing, and dot filter, and then file dot ends with, or sorry, file, and then the arrow function, and file dot ends with, and then pass in .js. So just like so, we do have that there. And then we can head on over to the next section for const with brackets or parentheses, sorry, const file of command files, another curly bracket, const command is equal to require. Open that up just like so. We're going to do /commands and then file. So we need this to actually specify where we're looking for these to actually deploy them. And we're going to do if, and then the single quotes, data, in command, and has the execute property, in command, curly bracket, commands.push, and then command.data.toJSON. So we're converting it to JSON, the actual data of the command, which Discord requires, and then parentheses there as well, and another semicolon. And then we can do on our for statement here, we can do else, or in our try statement, sorry, console.log, and then we can do the warning, and then the command at, and then pass in another variable just like so. We can do file just like that. Is missing a required data or execute property. So just like that, we are going to be giving a warning or an error if we are missing a property. And then we have those there, and then you can hit spacebar again 2 or 3 times there. And we do want to do this inside the try statement here still, or inside our deploy commands function, sorry, above the last parenthesis or curly bracket. So we're going to do const rest is equal to new rest, and then we can do dot set token. We can do process.env.bot_token, put our semicolon, and then as you can see, we made another typo there, so make sure you replace this and put it back here. And once you have that, so it should be between the last two and those other two, just like so. And then we can do a console.log. And again, log here, started refreshing. We can do a variable for commands.length, which will show our length. And then if your variables aren't working, make sure you do use the correct apostrophes there, or punctuation. It'll be the back ticks, just like so. Commands.length, and then application slash commands globally. So this will tell us how many commands we have total, and that they are, you know, obviously starting to refresh. And then we can get on 2 lines and do const data is equal to await rest dot put. Open up another parenthesis just like so, and do routes dot application commands. Then we can do process.env.client_id, comma, and we can pass in body commands. So we're passing those commands to our client, and then put another semicolon there. We are almost done, so not too much more. We can do console.log. And let's just keep it simple. Successfully reloaded all commands. And we can put that back there. Do another semicolon, obviously. And then it'll be on this one here. And we can do catch. We can do error. Open that up as well, and do console.error, and simply pass in the error just like that. So this will send the error there to our console, and we could also go ahead and do something like this and just say error deploying commands and comma error. So it'll say this and then show the error in the console. And that is our deploy commands logic done. Now that you did that, we should be now able to start our bot. Okay, and then one last thing to double check before you go in. Make sure here in your env file, you do not put the spaces here. I do apologize. I completely oversight that on the beginning there. Make sure there's no spaces in between your bot token and the wording here for the variables. You don't want any spaces, just a simple bot token equals to this, no spaces. And then you can do your npm start. And just like so, we have our bot online, and as you see, the status was set, it's ready, and it's logged in as YouTube video tutorial and our bot here. So now if we actually head on over into Discord, I have a brand new server set up for us here. And if you actually go into your notepad and grab that client authorization we made earlier, you can send that in your server or open it up in your browser, either way, click on it, and click on add, and you can actually add your bot to your server. So just like so, as you can see, the bot did join. We have our playing status, and it says playing Discord with online. So again, if you guys want to change your bot status, go back over here and we can do, for example, do not disturb. Head on over into your terminal just like so, press Control C to stop it, and then just rerun it again. And you will see in Discord, it will change to do not disturb. It may take a minute. Discord statuses and updates, like stuff like that, are a little bit slow. But you can see the status was set to do not disturb. So it may take a minute to update. But as you can see, like if I change this, for example, to, and then change this to like something for like FNCS finals, doesn't matter really. Can't think of another game's finals name or whatever. And then if we go back on over to Discord, you'll see it says competing in FNCS finals. So now we have the competing, the listening, whatever. Anything you want to add, you can put there. And the do not disturb does work. It just may take some time for it to update. Now, finally, let's go ahead and make our ban and kick commands. But first, let's check and see if our ping command is working. So we should have /ping. And if you don't have it, you need to reload Discord. So in Discord, you can just close it and reopen it. Or on PC, just press Control and R together, and Discord will reload. And then you should have your / commands. So if I do /ping again, and just a few more oversights to go over. So if your commands are showing up in Discord, you will need to move a few things. So with the current code, they are not showing up. So again, go back on over to Visual Studio Code and make sure whatever you're using, and move your const for path and fs to the top of the file before they're ever used. So as you can see, we're using fs here, so they need to be at the top of whatever is most recently used. So it's the best practice and obviously required to put your imports at the top of the file. Do apologize for overlooking this. So sorry, there's a lot of errors going on here, but promise next video will be better. It's my first tutorial video, so I'm in a bit of a mess here, but trust me, it'll get better. So next, I see I've made another typo here on line 6, or sorry, not line 6, line 8 here for const command. It should be const commands with an S, just like so. So apologies for that. And then we should be doing on line 20. And once you have fixed those typos, if you made them, I'm pretty sure I said them correctly, I just didn't type them correctly. We have some typos there. But then once that is done, you can just simply restart your bot just like so. And as you can see, here we go. The command ping is missing a required data or execute property, whatever. It could be a false warning. I need to double check that code. Let's go ahead and reload Discord really quickly. Just double check. I do /ping. And no, it does seem like there is an issue there, a typo in the ping file. So let me go ahead and double check that really quickly. We have module.exports, data. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the error was in the ping file. I copied it over from my document that I tried to pre-map out before the video, and it looks like it fixed it. I'm not quite sure what the error was. I didn't notice any difference in my code and then the document over here that I had pre-prepared, so I do apologize if you also had that error, but I believe it was another typo probably. So as long as you typed it the way I was saying everything, you should be good to go. All the code will be in the GitHub down below. So if you do need to follow along or grab some code or whatever, it'll be in the GitHub down below anyway. So just go ahead and grab it down there. I'll provide this command specifically, maybe not all the code, as I do want you guys to learn and watch and try to learn. Obviously, maybe I'm not the best with typos and typing, so I do apologize, and I missed over some things. But again, the next video will be way better than this. I do apologize for the bit of a mess here. But once you have that done, you should see the ready logged in as, and then you should see started refreshing undefined commands, whatever. That's fine. We can easily fix that. It looks like I made a typo in something here. I'm not too worried about it. What that is, you can just remove that if you don't like the typo, just get rid of that. And you have that there. So once you restart your bot, you should see this, and finally you shouldn't see any errors, and you should see the started refreshing application commands globally, successfully loaded all commands, whatever. And then you can go back over to Discord, and you should have the /ping command now, which again will require a Discord reload. And as you can see with the reload as well, the bot now is in do not disturb. So again, it does work. Everything is working so far. And if we do /ping, as you can see, we got Pong, and the bot latency is 192, and the API latency is 29. So that is quite good. And as you can see, our command is working. So let's go ahead and move on to the kick and ban commands for actually kicking and banning members. So head back on over to our commands folder, just like so. Click on the add file button once you have clicked on commands. add file, and we're going to do kick.js. And let's go and start working on this one. This one is a little bit more lengthy, but again, it should be pretty simple and pretty easy. So I'm just going to do const, and we're going to do open it up with the curly brackets again, /command builder. We're going to do comma permission flag bits, as we do need to check for permissions before doing this, and require discord.js. So once you have those there, you can go ahead and go down again and do the same thing as the other one with the module.exports, and do another equals with the curly bracket. Data is a new /command builder, and do .set name. And for this one, we'll be doing kick.set description. So we just see kick a user from the server, and .add a user option. So an option to input a user, which makes things for /commands, kicking people way easier, and actually is required for /commands, of course. Or you could do modals, but for now, let's stick to /commands. We're going to do option.set name, and we're going to do target or user. For me, I'm going to do user to kick. And then we're going to do .set description. So tab in .set description. And we will do the user to kick. Or we can actually just do user instead of user to kick since we have description. And then we can do .set required. So to actually, obviously require the user for the command to be inputted to prevent errors. And obviously you need to kick someone. You can't just kick nothing. So you do want to require that. And then we're going to add a string option, so a text input option. And again, open that up with another arrow, and then your option.set name, and do reason. And then we can tab in again, .set description, reason for kicking, and do .set required. And for this one, we can do false, as you don't always need to provide a reason for kicking. Unless you want yours to be different, you may do that. Now we can now go back again and do an async execute. We do need a comma. Oh, sorry, I forgot something. .set default members permissions. And then we're going to do permissions with a capital P. Permission flag bits, just like so, or flags bits, sorry. There's a typo up there too, so double check that. It's flags bits, so permission flags bits, and then .kick members. So .kick members, and comma. Now we have async execute, and we're going to pass in interaction. So the interaction again, and then const target is equal to interaction .options .get user, and then target, whatever you named it. So for me, the user was user, so user, just like so. And I believe I'm correct when saying that you can't set the name to a capital, so make sure that you do lowercase your option names there. You can do const reason is equal to interaction.options .get string, and then we're going to do reason. Now, once you have those, you can do a or statement, and then just do no reason provided. So it will default to no reason provided if they didn't provide one. And then you can do const. We need to check if the bot can actually kick the target if it has permission. So we can do const target member is equal to await interaction .guild .members .fetch target.id, and then .catch to parentheses there, and then an arrow to null. So next we can do if, and then a not target member. So for missing target member, return interaction .reply. Open it up just like so. And content, we can say that user is not in the server. Ephemeral, we can set that to true. Next, we can go down and make another if statement, and we can do if target member dot kickable. So we're checking if they are kickable, and if they're not, we're going to return and do interaction dot reply content, and simply say I cannot kick this user. They may have higher permissions than me. So just like so, we have that, comma, and again set ephemeral to true. Once you have those, you are going to go into if statements, and next we're going to be trying to kick them. Make sure we handle that properly. Seems like I might have messed that up. There we go. And then we're going to be doing our try statement. So we're going to do try, open that up with another curly bracket, await target member.kick, and then a reason. So passing in our reason there, and then await interaction.reply. Successfully kicked. We can do bold, and then open up with a variable target.tag. So we're getting their tag, and then we can bold that as well. And we can do from the server \n for a new line, and we can do reason, and then pass in that variable reason. So just like that. And now we have a success message. We can go down to onto here and do a catch. We can pass in our error if we have an error, so we'll catch that so the bot does not crash. We'll do console.error and error. And then we'll do await interaction.reply. We'll do content. And then there was an error trying to kick this user, exclamation point. And then again, ephemeral true. And I forgot the comma there. And so just like that, we can put another comma there. Go back down. Make sure this is set up properly. Put a space or two on it. And there we go. So that is our entire /command builder set up just like that. And once again, this is our kick command. So now we can stop the bot and simply start it again. And we should be good to go. We have an invalid string format. I'm assuming it's because I misplaced some of our parentheses. And it actually probably was this right here. So I believe it is the capital in the name. Yes, so it was the capital in the name. As you can see, both commands did deploy successfully. So again, make sure your names and your options here don't have capitals in them, because if they do, for example, if I started again with a capital letter, you're going to get an error. So yes, you cannot have capitals in your option names or the command name. So double check that as well. So once you have those, you can deploy your bot. And if you get back on over to Discord, you may instantly see it, but there's a Discord integrated one. So that's not our bot. And if I again, Control R, reload Discord, you will see I can do /kick and specify a user. If we try kicking the bot itself, I cannot kick this user. They may have higher permissions than me. And if I tried kicking, let's say, a user that wasn't in the server, for example, let me grab a user ID really quickly. And here's a user ID that's not in the server. They're obviously not in the server. And then also if we do kick and then our user and reason, and we do test, obviously they have higher permissions, whatever. And finally, we can work on the ban command. So it's actually very simple. Just copy your kick command, click back on this folder here, make a new ban.js command, paste it in, and rename some things. So we're going to do ban everything that says kick. We can just search for kick up here and replace with ban. We can do successfully banned. So you're trying to ban this user. I cannot ban this user. Okay. And then we have user dot, and I believe it is bannable. Yes. So it is bannable with two N's like so. Bannable. And that should be all we need to do. So once you have that replaced, as you can see, it is the exact same as the last one, but with bannable instead. So make sure you have proper formatting if you want it to look nice, but otherwise it's the exact same thing. Just replace kick with ban for everything and you're good to go. So if I actually head back on over to Discord and restart the bot, you can see if I go to Discord and press Control R, we now have the /kick command and the /ban command. both on the bot. And if I try banning, for example, my account, I cannot ban this user. They may have higher permissions than me and whatnot. So again, you can customize this. And for now, we're just doing everything pretty simple. I know this is quite a long video, but hopefully it does teach you the basics of Discord.js version 14 and how to make a simple Discord bot. In the next video, we'll be covering quite a bit more, creating embeds, make your messages look nicer, and some other utility commands. And if you guys do have suggestions for things you want to see, commands, types of bots, etc. you want to see, comment down below and tell me what you want to see, and I'll make those types of bots. So if you want to see a ticket bot or even a level up bot or something like that, let me know and we can make those. Now, I'll be making tons of tutorials on coding, stuff like that. I do apologize again for this video being such a mess, but as you can see, we do have a basic working bot here. And let me see if I can get a quick alt account or something in here to show you guys that the commands do work. So give me one moment, I'll be right back with you. And as you can see, I got another bot in here that I should be able to kick now if I actually do /kick and I specify storm here. You will see storm was successfully kicked from the server and no reason provided. And as you can see, it is gone. It is not banned. If I check the bans list here, it's not banned. And if I check the audit log, okay, sorry, I cannot check audit log with streamer mode enabled, but it was successfully kicked from the server. Let me re-add it. Give me 1 second. And now that it's back in the server, let's go ahead and do /ban just like so. And click on our test bot here. And if I give it a reason, for example, no more test bot, you will see it's banned from the server. Reason, no more test bot. And if I head on into the server's ban list here, you will see storm is banned and the reason is no more test bot. So it does indeed work. And again, in future videos, we'll be going over even more commands you can add to your bot and more functions using, like, for example, maybe even embeds, something like that, to make your bot look nice. But for now, let's keep it simple. And this is already a long video, so hope you guys did enjoy. I hope this helps you out, and I hope that you can make your own bots with this, at least a simple one for now. And maybe even, maybe you learn something, you can make even more crazy commands and whatnot. So again, comment down below if you want to see something specific, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.